Hey movie fans, time for another Q&A. I really enjoyed doing the last one with you guys, and you guys gave me some really great questions, and so I wanted to do it again, and you guys gave me even better questions this time around, so let's get to it. Favorite all-time movie character? Now this one, I actually had to think about for a little bit, but I gotta say it's probably Aragorn from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. He's just a really well-rounded, good character that I think all the other characters really kind of try to emulate. If they're not trying to be Gandalf, they're trying to have the moral compass and all-around goodness of Aragorn played excellently by Viggo Mortensen. Like, I can't see anybody else in that role. He just knocks it out of the park. Who is your favorite director and why? Well, I got a couple of directors that I really like seeing the work, but primarily my favorite director is Christopher Nolan, who did the Dark Knight trilogy, Interstellar, Prestige, Inception, and I think it's primarily because through his Dark Knight trilogy, I really became a big fan of film. Like, The Dark Knight was the first one that I really was like, wow, this is something special, this is something different. And so it got me really interested in not just casually watching film, but like the behind the scenes and the analytics of what makes a good film, what makes a bad movie. And continually, I've been impressed with Christopher Nolan's films. Who would you like to collaborate with in the future? Either someone famous or just someone you know? Well, there's a friend of mine that actually just started a Star Wars podcast. He's actually been on a previous episode here that just started a Star Wars podcast called Sorry About the Mess. So, you know who you are. I would love to be on Sorry About the Mess, and shameless plug for them. You can check them out over on SoundCloud and iTunes, I believe now. So that makes it official if they're on iTunes. Why should there be more Christian films like Blue Like Jazz? Well, I gotta preface this by saying I have not seen Blue Like Jazz, but I've heard, considering it's a Christian film, it's one of the better ones. So I think the question for me more when I read it is not so much a matter of quantity, because there's plenty of Christian movies. It's a matter of quality. There's not a lot of good Christian movies out there. So I think it's more, there should be more Christian movies that are good, not more Christian movies. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think if you want a Christian movie, you don't look to a Christian-produced movie. That sounds horrible, but, like, typically they get bogged down in the cheesiness and the unrealisticness that comes with it. And I know you need to suspend your disbelief with movies, but Christian movies are typically bogged down with cheesiness. So you need better movies. You need better Christian movies if you want something like that. I think that's what you're getting at. I think that answers the question. More a matter of quality over quantity. Who was your favorite person to collab with? I got a couple that I really enjoyed, but primarily I think I gotta watch where I step carefully, because one of the people that I collaborated with is my fiance, who was definitely one of my favorites to work with. Is seeing the growth that she had from the first to the second video. There's a world of difference. I was really impressed to see that growth of being a little shy in the first one to really actually working well together in that second video. It was really great to see that. But I think probably my favorite person to collaborate with has been Josh in all the 5 Good Things, because boy, it's been suffering watching some of those movies for you guys. Like, those movies are just bad that we've had to do for 5 Good Things, but it's always fun, and sometimes it is actually a bit of a challenge for us to find something which makes a very fun experience, minus the fact that we're suffering through a bad movie. What was your favorite video to make? I think that was the WWE Superstars Meet the DC Universe. I think that was just Josh and I having some fun, just an idea out of left field, just pitching 2 universes together, and it actually ended up being a lot of fun. Top 5 movies you would recommend to anyone? Oh boy, I don't really typically like recommend movies blind to people unless I know their preferences. Like, if they say I like this type of movie, this type of movie, but there's some movies that I will blindly suggest because I think everyone on the face of the planet should see them. Iron Giant, Warrior, Shawshank Redemption. Who would play Josh in a movie? Josh keeps coming back up in these. I did actually do some research on this one, and I think if Josh and I were to ever be portrayed in a movie by actors, he would probably be the kid from Kingsman, Taron Egerton. I always pronounce his name wrong. Taron Egerton. Yeah, see? Taron Egerton, I think. And I would probably be played by Nicholas Hoult. I've been told I look like him, so that'd probably be the pairing I'd go with. Top 3 favorite movies. Star Wars, Shawshank Redemption, Return of the King Extended Edition. What do you honestly think of Nicolas Cage? Man's a masterpiece and a national treasure, pun intended. No, actually, I think Nicolas Cage is a phenomenal actor when he wants to be. The problem is he has fallen on financially hard times, if I remember correctly, and so he's actually had to take like every part that's been offered to him, and so when you keep getting these roles, I imagine some of them you have to phone in, and other times you just don't care and so you overact. I think when there's some good story that he really cares about, then he tries, and he can be a good actor. It's like Shia LaBeouf. If you can sort through the crazy, you can find a nugget of good, but you have to really dig to get to it, or find a good combination that really accentuates those elements of their craziness. So I think Nicolas Cage is a phenomenal actor, stuck in some bad situations. He's been in some good movies, but he's been on a lot of turds, and I think we often look at the turds before we look at the diamonds. Is there anything you would change about the movie industry? Not a whole lot, but one major thing. The MPAA, the rating system of how movies are classified, I don't have a problem with the ratings that they stand right now. G, PG, PG-13, R, stuff like that. I would change how a movie is graded. Right now, it's a very subjective process. There's not a whole lot of concrete rules, and I think that's something that needs to be reevaluated, because there's certain movies that I've seen that are R that could easily slip into PG-13, but a lot of PG-13 action movies are getting R levels of violence. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think we just need to be more defined in how we structure, this movie goes in here, this movie goes in here. You know what I'm saying? What movie set, past or currently filming, would you want to visit and why? Okay, I'll take a swing at this from two different perspectives, the past and current. Past, probably any of the Star Wars locations or Lord of the Rings, because New Zealand is just gorgeous and those sets look fantastic, but Star Wars is also iconic. And then currently filming, I'd probably have to go with episode 8 just to see if I can get any, like, not so much spoilers, but just like inside information, you know? Just, you gotta know what's going on with the next Star Wars. That's just life. What director would you like to see helm a Star Wars movie that hasn't already done so? Ooh, there's a couple that I would think would be really good picks. Jon Favreau, who just did Jungle Book and did the first 2 Iron Man movies, I think would be an excellent choice. Yeah, I'd be curious to see what Ridley Scott would do with a Star Wars. He does really well with sci-fi, but I don't know. I'd be curious to see how Ridley Scott would do it. I would, as much as Christopher Nolan's my favorite, he's too realistic, I think, for Star Wars. He'd try and explain why everything is the way it is. So I think Jon Favreau would be my top pick. Why does DC have such a hard time establishing a universe while Marvel seems to kind of stumble into it? I think you mean, like, why is it so easy for Marvel but so hard for DC? Well, the plain and simple answer, if you look at it, I think, is Marvel has someone overseeing everything with Kevin Feige. He kind of just lets all the different directors know the overall plan, but then each individual director is responsible for their own story. Compare this to DC, where everyone kind of is off doing their own thing, not really interconnected a whole lot so far, but the universe is still young. I think another main factor is Zack Snyder, unfortunately. Now, hear me out. Zack Snyder, he's not the best, but he's not the worst director out there. That's probably way bold. But the thing with Zack Snyder is he's a very visual guy, and visuals only tell half the story. You still need to tell a good story, and he has been overseeing a lot of the different stages of it. The good thing about Marvel is there's different directors all over the place. You got the Russo brothers doing Captain America. You had Jon Favreau doing the first 2 Iron Man. You had Kenneth Branagh doing the first Thor. All those provided a whole bunch of different flavors. So far, the DC universe all has one really dark flavor. It's all kind of monotonous so far, with Man of Steel, which I loved, Batman v Superman, which you need different flavors, and I think we'll get that with Suicide Squad, which actually is my next question that I got here, is what are your thoughts on Suicide Squad? I'm really looking forward to it, because I don't just think it'll be DC's answer to Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it'll be a really fun time, is what we really need, especially now with DC. DC, with the Snyder influence, has kind of drifted into dark territory, which some parts of DC are, but really aren't. Only Batman can get away with dark. You still need optimistic characters. You still need bright colors and fun, which I think in DC's desperate attempt to differentiate between Marvel so much. Marvel's all lighthearted and fun. DC's just like, no, we're gonna be the angsty teen brother here. We're not allowed to have fun. But DC is allowed to have fun, and so I think Suicide Squad looks fun more than anything else, and it will give the universe a different flavor, which we really need. And I think it opened the floodgates for other directors to say, alright, we don't need to look like Man of Steel. We don't need to look like Batman v Superman. Let Batman be Batman. I'm going to let my movie, say I'm a DC director, okay, I'm going to let my movie and my characters look like how I want to look, which is what a director should say. So, short answer is the tones for Marvel and DC, not so much the tones, but the direction. There is a direction with Marvel, whereas DC is just, they're so focused on getting the pieces on the board that they're not worried about where the pieces are in connection with the other pieces. Well, I really enjoyed that Q&A. You guys had some great questions, so I will probably do this again in the future. So if you have any more questions, always comment, hit me up, let me know. Well, if you'd like to see and want to see more, subscribe to the channel, or follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at 17 Movie Reviews. Stay sharp, movie guys and gals!